Hello all you Pixel people, I am Pixel and I need to ask you guys a question today. Is the Frostbite engine really this bad? Really? Like, I wanted to do a video talking about the Battlefield Hardline Beta and my impressions overall, and to be honest, I'll cut this short by saying my impressions are pretty negative, to be honest. However, I just want to make it completely clear, I'm not blaming Visceral for this. A lot of my biggest flaws and issues with the game are revolving around the Frostbite engine. This is an engine now that we've been playing on for, is it like 4 years at least? And it's still broken and buggy and as infuriating as it has ever been. And I just don't get it. Like literally, I've just tried to record a Battlefield Hardline impressions video, and I couldn't do it because I kept going on to these little rants about the Frostbite engine and what was wrong with it, and I can't really give an impression about the game because the engine is so bloody bad. I want to say I don't like the theme of Hardline. I want to be able to say that the cops and robber thing just doesn't make sense, and it doesn't, right? But should that really matter? Like, personally, I don't think it should matter. I think you can play a game with a ridiculous theme. I mean, Team Fortress, 2 group... Yeah, you know what I mean. But I just... Oh, shit. I can't deal with this anymore, guys. It is ridiculous. I am still warping around the map when I've got the slightest bit of lag. I am still jerking at like 20 FPS when you're walking into a teammate. Your cars still feel like they're being weighed down by a metric ton of bricks. You still die behind corners when you're behind them, obviously. The kill trades are happening like 5 or 6 times per round. There's damage which is not being done by explosives. You watch your grenade explode in front of a car and nothing. Yay! I don't get it. I completely do understand that rendering 64 people on a map, which is huge with vehicles and everything, can't be a very easy task. Especially when you add in the fact that each of the bullets that are flying around the map are actually individually mapped and flying with their own velocities and everything like that. Yeah, that's impressive. But the most basic of things just seems to be so broken. Like, I can't jump through certain windows because my character decides to stand on the window ledge and butt his head off the roof. Boom. Yes. Like, really. And this might just sound like I'm ranting for the sake of ranting, but there's a very important point in all this. I am really hyped and excited for Battlefront 3, the Star Wars game, which is also being made by DICE, and I'm assuming it's going to be on the Frostbite engine. And if these bugs are present in that game, I think I may literally mind blow and lose my mind. This is just not good. I don't get it. Now, I will talk about Hardline for a little bit. I will touch on some of the issues that I've got. The biggest issue that I've got right now is the game kind of doesn't make sense. Why is there huge armies of police and gangsters going at each other? That doesn't make sense to me. The more important issues that I've got with the game, however, are the balance, for instance, when it comes to the weapons. Like, even when you're talking about weapons within the same grouping, like assault rifles or SMGs, this has definitely got to be the Battlefield with the most different balance when it comes to the strongest SMG to the weakest SMG. There's just this huge kind of chasm where there's one good thing and everything else sucks. And don't get me wrong, like, people will say the M16 from Battlefield and the Ace-23 or 24, I can't even remember what it was, from Battlefield 4, these were like the really powerful weapons and everything else was nowhere near as good, which is true, but they were still usable, they still felt functional. And in Battlefield Hardline, it kind of feels like you use these and you stay away from these because these will get you killed because they are that bad. And I kind of worry about stuff like that quite a lot because it just almost shows signs of poor development, maybe a lack of understanding about how people play a game. And I do understand that this is Visceral's first attempt at making a Battlefield game, and overall, they've managed to keep a lot of the same feel. It just feels like some of the game modes, however, just have this lack of direction, and I think that's maybe one of my biggest issues overall, and I'm not certain if it is really an issue with the game or if it's an issue with the people that are playing the game. I honestly do believe it is more of an issue with the people playing the game. For instance, there is a new mode called Hotwire where you literally, well, it's like Conquest, except each one of the points is a vehicle, and you have to drive this vehicle at a certain speed to actually start ticking down the points. And in theory, that sounds cool, right? And I've had a couple of games. Now, bearing in mind, I am level 50, plus I've played an awful lot of the game already. Probably about 20 or 30 hours since the beta launched. And in all that time, I've had like 2 or 3 decent matches. The rest of them just... It's one team decides to do the objective and the other team decides to play deathmatch. And this seems to happen in most of the game modes, such as Heist, which again is an objective-based mode. It's basically like Obliteration. So you'd expect everybody to hone down on these 2 people carrying bikes and actually defend a point. Doesn't really happen. You've got 20 people on your team. Well, you haven't, because there's a maximum of 16, but you've got a load of people on your team just stood on the roof with sniper rifles, and the game kind of just falls to pieces. And this is like my biggest concern with Battlefield Hardline overall. I mean, this is excluding all the engine problems and stuff like that. But when it actually comes to the gameplay itself, the bad balancing of the weapons and the classes and everything like that is set to the side, because that could still be quite easily improved. But when you're trying to teach poor players to play a game properly, that can be something which just doesn't happen. This could be down to the beta just being a bad impression of the game, like literally having probably the worst map in Battlefield history, Dust Bowl, which I honestly think is probably the worst map in Battlefield history. With Hotwire, kind of just leaves you feeling on your own, and this is kind of strange really, because we've got Visceral and EA claiming that this is the fastest Battlefield ever. And when it comes to movement speed, they're probably correct. When it comes to time to kill, they are probably correct. When it comes to the actual feel that you actually have in your heart when you're actually playing the game, is your heart racing? Do you feel like you're moving your mouse really fast? Are you tapping all the keys and playing fast? No, it just feels like the movement speed's been increased. If anything, this is probably the slowest Battlefield that I have played, and don't get me wrong, there were slow modes and maps in the previous Battlefield games, but what we've got here, including Heist and Hotwire and even the 64-player Conquest, feels nowhere near as fast as what a domination match felt like in Battlefield 4 or what Metro 2033 felt like in Battlefield 3. It just feels very subdued. It's more about like shooting a few bullets and somebody dies and then you run around and find the next person. Don't get me wrong, there have been a few moments in the game where you turn a corner, you bump into 5 people and you have a quick gunfight, but because of the time to kill has increased as well, well, the time to kill has decreased, you just die really quickly, or you kill really quickly. It doesn't really feel like the game's got any faster at all. If anything, like I already said, this has got to be probably the slowest Battlefield to date that I have played, and this, I suppose excluding like Battlefield 2, which was quite slow in its own way. But yeah, I think overall it's important to say that I'm really not liking Hardline, guys. I normally hate that people do these betas and say that it's just a marketing exercise. I don't know if it is or if it isn't. All I know is I'm not enjoying it. And even if this is supposed to be a real beta, hashtag real beta, you're right, like they exist. But if this is a real beta, I'll apologise if some of this stuff is improved in future. I honestly don't believe it will be. Just look at Battlefield 4, for instance. They are still trying to fix the shithole, which is the Frostbite engine over on Battlefield 4. And I think it's going to be exactly the same here on Hardline, except this time I don't think they're even going to really try and fix it. I can imagine this is just going to get brushed under the carpet. Now, my main concerns, like I did mention, are related to Star Wars Battlefront 3, which is coming out soonish, I believe, maybe the end of the year, maybe 18 months away. But if they don't make this engine any better than what it is currently, every game from now on is going to be shit on this engine, and that really disappoints me. I'd love to know what you guys are thinking about Battlefield Hardline if you've had the chance to play the beta, so please do leave me a comment down in the comment section below. I am Pixel, If you're new to the channel, don't forget to slide that subscribe button for some more PC gaming goodness, and as always, like this video if you like this video. I'm sorry for the rant, guys. I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.